Hi, Gene here. Welcome to today's thought. Today I want to pop over to Israel. There's interesting development there that could have some kind of implication for us over here. You'll see why in a minute. But I did one of my thoughts a few days ago, maybe a couple of days ago. I talked about a similarity between Israel and France, between Netanyahu and Macron, that the left, when they get angry about something, they don't just write letters to the editor. They pour into the streets. They block traffic. They light bonfires. In France's case, because they dared, the government dared to raise the retirement age from 62 to 64, which seems funny to us Americans, because here the retirement age is 67. But in Israel, I went through it before. The judiciary, they have a terrible Supreme Court. I don't want to get into the details. The main point for today is that the opponents of the attempts to reform it, well, I'll give you a brief idea. Imagine, if you're a liberal watching this, imagine that this conservative Supreme Court that we have today. Suppose new justices were chosen by committee. Suppose that it was a committee of 9 people on it, but there would be on that committee the Chief Justice and 2 other justices, and 7 votes would be needed to confirm a new nominee. So do you see, if it's Roberts and he picks 2 conservatives, then they can veto. If you need 7 votes out of 9, then 3 justices sticking together can stymie any. If you have a liberal president who wants liberal Supreme Court justice, it would not be possible. Imagine that the Supreme Court had the power not just to strike down laws that violate the Constitution. Israel doesn't have a constitution yet. They have a court that strikes down any law they don't like, and sometimes without a legal basis, just because they don't like the law. They've ordered people fired. They've ordered people not to, government officials not to do certain things. It's a real mess. So a right-leaning government headed by Benjamin Netanyahu they were elected a little while ago. Now they want to reform the court. So you have these massive demonstrations from the left. And I said in my earlier vlog, if this goes on, you may start to see, usually Israel, like America, has a silent majority. That was Nixon's term when he ran for president the first time. A silent majority that watches all this craziness from the left, but they just get up, go to work. They don't make any noise. But events reach a critical mass where they suddenly react, and they could pour into the streets too. That's what's happening in Israel. There was a massive demonstration in favor of the judicial reforms. I'm going to show you some videos now. The first one will have some commentary with somebody who will give you an idea of what the grievance is. But I'm going to show you the videos, and I'll have a final comment when the videos are over.
All right, folks, Yishai Fleischer here at the Nationalist Rally, the pro-judicial reform rally. It's very simple. We want judicial reform because we don't want the Supreme Court to have total control of our Knesset and erase the laws that we want to see. We voted in a majority. We want change. We're tired of Aaron Barak's everything is justiciable diktat. We don't want that regime anymore. And it's time for our voice to be heard, and we're tired of it being trampled by a vocal minority in Israel who thinks that they can shut down the country because they're the elites. That's one. We also want to push back against jihadism, as opposed to what I saw in the other rally, which said, there's no democracy with occupation. You mean you want to kick us out of our homeland? That is not why we came back to the land of Israel. We came here to stay, especially in the heartland cities, in Beit El, in Hebron, Shiloh, Shechem, Gush Etzion. We want to stay in these places. And so we're going to fight against that, again, diktat that wants to kick us out of our land. That is not why the Jewish people came home to the land of Israel. And at the same time, I also saw in the previous rally in the secular liberal left Ashkenazi elite. I also saw a lot of good people, a lot of lovers of Israel. And it's also incumbent upon us to find a way to converse with one another and not have hate. There's also a call to bring more Judaism to the land, and so that the folks in Tel Aviv will also share in something that we've found, which is a spiritual dimension to the return of the Jewish people to the land of Israel. And maybe we have something to learn from them as well. And it's really a time for a little bit more togetherness. Let this crisis be an opportunity. But that nice guyness of talking about unity should not eviscerate our call, our full-throated call, not to be erased by the media, not to be shut down by the unions. We have a voice here in Israel, and we will not be silent. We will demand our rights here as well, with the help of God.
So you see now what's happening in Israel, these demonstrations from the right. Not as large, to be fair, not as large as the ones from the left, but there weren't any demonstrations at all just a few days ago. Now we have this very large demonstration, and you have a couple of Knesset members, Knesset, that's our legislature, the Knesset calling, people from the right calling for demonstrations. I forget what day it is, but they're calling for everybody to demonstrate on a certain day. Now, what this means for Israel, it could be a good thing for them. I'll get to us in a minute. But the Netanyahu paused the reforms. They were about to vote on it. He paused it for a month because of all these demonstrations to give the left said that they wanted to negotiate, but they would not negotiate unless the legislation was halted. They already met once. We'll have to see what happens. But in a month, the issue will be back on the table, and Netanyahu is saying, okay, well, you'll have had your chance. If we can't agree, we're going to pass the legislation. The point I want to make is that if you have demonstrations on both sides, then it's a wash. So it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't. So it becomes no longer a matter of, well, we have to pause the legislation, or we have to not reform the judiciary because we'll have all these demonstrations and blocking traffic and et cetera, et cetera. But now, if they don't pass it, well, they'll have the same demonstrations. So it's a wash. It doesn't matter either way. So now the majority party, the right, won the election, and that's the issue. They want to be able to govern, but this left-wing court never. They just stop them. They overturn things that the right wants to do. When the left was in power, the court was pretty dormant. But so they want to change that. Now they might as well go ahead and change it because there's going to be demonstrations either way. So just change it and just deal with the consequences. Sooner or later, as I said the other day, the most left-wing person, let's say if they stop flights from the airport, they did that for one day as a demonstration, but the pilots, sooner or later somebody's going to want to get somewhere. Somebody's going to want to go to work. Somebody's going to be fed up with these demonstrations. So you might as well pass it, and sooner or later time will pass and things will calm down. It's an interesting contrast with we here in America because us here in America, because we had this very controversial Dobbs decision that overturned Roe v. Wade. And people demonstrated in front of the Supreme Court, but you didn't see nearly the kind of anarchy, that's no other way to put it, that you're seeing from the left in Israel. So hopefully this will all work out. But the lesson for us here, I promised I would have a thought about a lesson for us here, is that this wokeness and multiple sexes and so on and so forth, and not letting people drill, the oil companies drill. I won't give you the whole litany. We would be here all day. But you may see the same thing as you're seeing in Israel, and you see these Black Lives Matter riots, and you may hopefully no riots from the right, but you may see something. The reason that the left harp so much on January 6th, about January 6th, because that is the only time that I can think of that you had a riot from the right, and it wasn't, I don't want to say small, but small, relatively small compared to your typical Black Lives Matter riot, or the riots that occurred in 2017 when Trump was inaugurated. People don't remember that. People rioted in the streets in Washington, D.C. They smashed store windows, lit fires, so on and so forth. Let's just hope that in our country, at least, that the left gets the message. Hopefully, we'll just have we'll coast through until 2024, and we'll elect a sane government, and that government will take power on January 1st. But at least you won't have riots from the right there. But if it's Trump again, then you're going to have riots. You're going to have riots, and well, the whole situation is sad, and I just, you can see I'm an older guy. I just remember when everybody, right or left, Democrat or Republican, we were all patriots, and I guess the Scoop Jackson, Hubert Humphrey, Democrats, I guess they're gone, and it's sad. Maybe Joe Manchin, and that's about it. And that's my thoughts for today. Thanks for stopping by. Look forward to seeing you again. If you could subscribe, that's great. But for now, bye.